Greetings and welcome to our daily Devo for Tuesday, the 27th of August today. We're running out of time in summertime here. Today's devotion is entitled God's Garden. God's Garden. And Charles Dickens' portion of this is taken from a work entitled Sketches by Boz, B-O-Z. I do not believe we've been to this one so far, and I've never ever heard of that one either. Sketches by Boz. He must have written a lot of stuff. God's Garden. In fine weather, the old gentleman is almost constantly in the garden. He has always something to do there, and you will see him digging and sweeping and cutting and planting with manifest delight. In springtime, there is no end to the sowing of seeds and sticking little bits of wood over them with labels, which look like epitaphs to their memory. And in the evening, when the sun has gone down, the perseverance with which he lugs a great watering pot about is perfectly astonishing. His wife is very fond of flowers, as the hyacinth glasses in the parlor window and geranium pots in the little front court testify. She takes great pride in the garden, too. On a summer evening when the large watering pot has been filled and emptied some 14 times, and the old couple have quite exhausted themselves by trotting about, you will see them sitting happily together in the little summer house, enjoying the calm and peace of the twilight, and watching the shadows as they fall upon the garden, and gradually growing thicker and more somber, obscure the tints of their gayest flowers, no bad emblem of the years that they have silently rolled over their heads, deadening in their course the brightest hues of early hopes and feelings which have long since faded away. These are their only recreations, and they require no more. They have within themselves the materials of comfort and content, and the only anxiety of each is to die before the other. That is true to life for all of us, I think. All right, some thoughts by Gene Fisher. Sketches by Boz is a collection of Dickens's earliest short stories. The book, divided into 4 parts, Our Parish, Scenes, Characters, and Tales. Those are the 4 parts. They describe London and its people in the early 1800s. In this passage from Scenes, London Recreations, or Recreations, depending on how he meant it, Dickens shows an elderly couple spending their leisure time gardening. The book of Genesis presents another gardening scene. In chapter 2, we read that God planted a garden in Eden. He planted trees that were pleasant to the sight and good for bearing fruit. He put a river there to water the plants. And then he created Adam and Eve to tend and keep his garden. And that's in verses 8 through 15 of chapter 2 of Genesis. In the New Testament, Paul compared his work to a garden. Apollos, who was Paul's friend, Apollos and I are merely servants who helped you to have faith. It was the Lord who made it all happen. I planted the seeds. Apollos watered them. But God made them sprout and grow. What matters isn't those who planted or watered, but God who made the plants grow. Apollos and I work together for God, and you are God's garden. 1 Corinthians 3, verses 5 through 7, then verse 9. Wherever your path may take you today, be sure to sprinkle a few seeds of faith along the way. Then watch as God's garden grows and blooms all around you. Isaiah 58, verse 11, the Lord will guide you continually and satisfy your soul in drought and strengthen your bones. You shall be like a watered garden. It's a lovely thought, a significant thought, I think, to see us as either planting or watering. Those are the two roles Paul says that he and Apollos have. And we think that we are going to make things happen. And Paul clearly says, we're just servants that helped you come to faith. One planted, another watered, but it is God who causes the increase. It is God working in us, working in those in whom we've tried to plant a seed, working in those with whom we've tried to water that seed and help it to begin to bear fruit. Those are important parts. But the ultimate growth, the ultimate reality of the growth happening, of the fruit coming in that life, belongs to God through the Holy Spirit. Sometimes as a pastor, you beat yourself over the head because why aren't people receiving this? Why don't people seem to be growing? Why don't people seem to be bearing any fruit from my life or my preaching or whatever the case may be? After we've planted, after we watered, maybe our next job is pray for that person. Pray for those people. Pray that the seed planted will find good soil, as in that parable on the seed, which is all the same seed, but it lands on different types of soil. Some of the soil's ready. It goes in, it's good soil. It's good black Illinois dirt growing corn on the cornfields or soybeans, deep, dark soil. Other stuff, well, some of it's just flat out rocky. There's hardly any soil there at all. Maybe that life had something in its past that made it lacking in faith or lacking in desire. Then there's some soil that receives it and there's some start there. There's some growth happening, but then weeds come in that choke it out. God's garden, and I focus on that, God's garden, not my garden, not your garden, God's garden. It was a lovely scene painted there in that Sketches by Boz, an old couple finding contentment in doing that, in planting the seed and watering it numerous times, lots of pots of water being emptied and refilled and emptied and refilled. It'd be great if we had that same passion to be busy about our Father's business in His garden, planting, watering, and being content in that and allowing the results to be brought by God the farmer. God the farmer. He's the husbandman in the parables Jesus tells. He's the one who cares, who trims, who prunes in John 15 so that more can grow, more fruit can come forward. Let's see ourselves like that. Planting, watering, and God bringing the results. Blessings to you today. Enjoy your seed spreading today as you go about your day.